Aha! Today, Peter and Zach's dream has come true. They've bought a trailer. Now they're ready to begin their long-planned journey through mystical places all over the country to make their vlog. But first, they need to pack. There are 3 boxes, but the guys can only take one of them. Which box should they choose? The first one. Take a look at the reflection in the mirror. The second box is empty, and the food in the third box is spoiled. Several cockroaches are crawling around too, probably not the best company for a road trip. Peter's aunt, Sarah, gave the guys 3 patchwork quilts for the trip. She said that she made all 3 of them by hand, but it's a lie. In fact, she made only 1 quilt and bought the remaining 2 online. Sarah was embarrassed to admit it because she was famous for sewing everything by hand. Can you tell which blanket is handmade? The third one. Look at this piece of fabric. It's identical to Sarah's skirt. She sewed these 2 items using the same material. Finally, Zach and Peter hit the road. They headed for the first spot. It was an abandoned library on a hill. Subscribers told the guys many ghost stories about this place. But our vloggers were skeptical and wanted to explore the building on their own. They walked around the library, recording videos and taking Polaroid pics. But they didn't meet any ghosts. When they returned to the trailer and looked through the pictures, they freaked out and locked all the doors. They left this creepy place as soon as possible. What scared them so much? Both of them are in the photo, but then who took this picture? The guys made a stop at the local coffee shop to get some hot drinks. As soon as they came in, Peter grabbed his camera and started recording. Why? Here's a ghost. The guys ordered sandwiches, but the barista, Fiona, had to prepare online orders first. So she asked the guys to wait for their food for a while. Fiona cut 1 loaf of bread into 4 pieces in 12 seconds. How much time does she need to cut the same loaf of bread into 5 pieces? "16 seconds. To get 4 pieces of bread, she must make 3 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 3 cuts, it means she makes 1 cut in 4 seconds. If Fiona wants to cut the bread into 5 pieces, she needs to make 4 cuts. 4 seconds for each cut makes it 16 seconds in total. Oy, my head's spinning. Zach noticed a fortune teller shop in the basement. It could make great content for the vlog, so he went downstairs. But as soon as Zach entered the shop, all doors and windows disappeared. Wicked Witch offered the guy a deal. She had 2 identical cards. One of them had escape written on it, while the other said marry me. Zach could pick only 1 card. If he got the escape card, he'd be free. And if he picked the marry me card, he'd stay with this creepy witch forever. The witch didn't want him to have a chance to escape, so she wrote marry me on both cards. Zach anticipated that the witch would do so, but he still managed to win and escape. How did he do it? He picked a card and dropped it in the fireplace, saying it was an accident. The witch had to reveal the remaining card that said marry me. According to the rules, there had to be 2 different cards. So the witch had nothing to do but agree that the card Zach had picked and burned must have been the escape card. Peter and Zach continued their journey. In the evening, the guys saw these 3 hitchhikers not far from a bus stop. They could only pick up 1 person. Who should they choose? This pretty girl is a werewolf. Hey, look at her toes. She has already begun to transform because it's the full moon. And this harmless-looking elderly lady is a runaway criminal. Take a look at the poster hanging at the bus stop. It's her portrait. As for the guy, he looks pretty harmless. Yeah, his clothes are indeed stained with something red, but that's just some paint because he's an artist. Look, there are art supplies in his backpack. The artist, whose name was George, told the guys about another interesting, mysterious place. The locals called it the haunted house. 1 week ago, George heard strange screams coming from inside. He went to check the house. A minute later, he ran away screaming. What scared him so much? The portrait of this creepy clown is moving. Zach and Peter decided to explore that haunted house. When they entered the building, they didn't see any portraits, but they heard screams coming from the basement. They walked downstairs and found a loudspeaker that replayed the screams over and over again. There was a clown costume in the closet. Zach and Peter found 3 suspects among the neighbors and asked them just one question. What did you do 1 week ago? Mr. Daniel said, I was on vacation in Spain for 2 weeks. We came back yesterday. Jessica said, I have very sensitive skin. I wouldn't spoil it by wearing a clown mask. As for Henry, he said he had been preparing for his tests at college 24/7. Who's lying? Jessica. Zach and Peter didn't say anything about the clown, but she started making excuses anyway. The guys arrived at the local hospital to film an interview with a famous professor, Dr. Thompson. But first, he had to help 4 people. Kyle complained, I'm misophonic. I wash my hands 100 times a day. Kelly explained, I'm afraid of heights. I can't even ride a bike. Fred complained, I have a strong fear of water. I can't even look at a faucet. And Jenny claimed that she had claustrophobia. She always fainted in elevators. Dr. Thompson knew for sure that only one of these people told the truth. Can you tell who? Fred can't be afraid of water. He has an aquarium with fish in his house. Jenny lives in a tiny van, so she can't have claustrophobia. And Kyle's apartment is too messy for someone who has a fear of dirt and germs. So it's Kelly. She sleeps on the floor, which is normal for someone with an abnormal fear of heights. Next stop, creepy caves. Zach and Peter went to see ancient ruins in the middle of the woods. Many people had disappeared there. The guys heard weird screams coming from the cave, ran toward the sound, and got lost. Suddenly, they saw 3 tunnels. The first tunnel was filled with fire. A hungry vampire was waiting in the second tunnel. And the third tunnel was filled with poisonous apples. Which way should they choose? The third tunnel is safe. The guys don't have to eat those apples. After their epic adventure in the cave, Zach and Peter went to the supermarket to buy some groceries. I'm guessing the apples made them hungry. Can you see a ghost in this room? Here it is. Peter and Zach found out that people had seen some zombies in this abandoned town. So they decided to make a stop there and check for themselves. The town looked empty. The guys were very disappointed. But suddenly, a crowd of hungry zombies popped out of nowhere and started chasing them. The guys ran into a hospital and locked the door. Zombies began breaking the door down. Luckily, a helicopter with a rescue team arrived quickly. It was going to land on the roof. Zach and Peter needed to get there as soon as possible. Help them find the shortest way. Here's the way. After saving the guys, the rescue team invited Peter and Zach to go skydiving together. They agreed and put on parachutes. They took this picture inside the plane right before the jump. Can you tell which of these people is in danger? This man over here, he's wearing a regular backpack instead of a parachute. The guys made a stop on the shore of a famous, mysterious lake. They went fishing. Suddenly, a mermaid jumped out of the water and dragged Zach into the lake. Peter jumped into the water to rescue his friend. Finally, he found Zach wrapped in seaweed on the rocks in the middle of the lake. 3 mermaids had gathered around Zach and were singing their songs. When they noticed Peter, they said, "We'll set your friend free if you guess which one of us is not a real mermaid." Can you help the guy? This lady over there, her tail isn't real." Sometime later, Peter's aunt, Sarah, called them. She was very upset. She found out that she had left her diamond ring in the guy's trailer. Peter found the ring and said, "No worries, we're going to send it back to you." But there was a problem. If he sent it by post without locking the box, the ring would be stolen. Both Peter and Sarah had some locks, but neither of them had the key that would open the lock of the other. Still, they managed to make it work and Sarah got her ring back. How did they do it? Peter locked the box with the ring and sent it to Sarah. When Sarah received the box, she added her lock and sent it back. Peter received the box and removed his lock. Then he sent the box back to Sarah. She opened the lock with her key and got the ring. Man, these folks lead complicated lives, don't you think?
I have some more riddles for you today. Let's start with the easy ones for a warm-up. Can you find the odd one out? Yep, here it is. Here's another one. Find an odd one out here then. Perfect, here it is. How about this one? Right here. Did you find it? And it's getting harder. What about the odd one out here? Look, it's this one. All the other hands are the right ones, and this one is the only left hand. Now I'll show you two pictures. Your task is to find 5 differences between them. Ready? Here they are. How many did you spot? Let's do it one more time. Find 5 differences here. Keep your eyes wide open. So did you manage to do it? I think you're now prepared for more hardcore tasks. Let's start with decoding. Detective Callum has been searching for a missing girl, Riley, for 3 weeks. He was in his office going through the case for the 100th time when he got an anonymous email saying, "Can you guess what's written here?" It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "The girl is in a hidden room beneath the Central Cafe. Bring $500 and I will tell you the passcode." Someone robbed a bank and Detective Callum was leading the investigation. There were 2 robbers, but the police managed to catch only one of them, Dante. Dante refused to name his accomplice, but the police had 3 suspects, Bree, Ivory, and Ronan. Detective Callum took a brief look at them and knew exactly who the second robber was. Who was it, and how did he know? It's Ivory. Look, she has the exact same tattoo on her wrist as Dante. Holland went to work and asked her boyfriend, Kyler, to walk the dog. Kyler agreed, but then his friend called him and suggested to come over to play a new video game. So, Kyler decided to skip the dog walk and went straight to his friends. Holland and he met right outside the house when they were both going back home. Kyler said that he'd walked the dog and then went to play with his friend. But Holland knew that he was lying. How? It's winter, so just look at the footprints. There are Holland's footprints on the snow going both ways, and Kyler's footprints going both ways too, but there are no footprints of the dog. Someone in a little town was stealing bicycles. Every time someone's bike was stolen, The owner would find a business card with 2 emojis printed on it. The police had 3 main suspects: Ocean Walker, Rebecca Smith, and Damian Jones. Who is the robber? The emojis signify the name. They are a wave and a person walking, so the robber must be Mr. Ocean Walker. On Wednesday, after a break, Nash came to his desk and found a short love note written in red ink. It wasn't signed, but Nash had 3 girls in mind, so he asked each of them if she had written him the note. Layla said that she'd been chatting with her friends and didn't write any notes. Dawn said that she was busy all break finishing her homework. Oakley said that she had been in the bathroom and had just come back. Who do you think wrote the note? Look, Oakley's hands are covered in ink. It's blue ink, but still. If she really was in the bathroom, her hands would be clean. So she must be lying, and she must be the one who wrote that note. Adley was kidnapped and woke up in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but they all looked dangerous. Behind one door, there were many little robots that were ready to attack her. Behind the second door, there were 3 trained tigers. Behind the third door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Which way should Adley choose to get out safely? The best choice must be the first door. Although they're robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause her much harm. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone had stolen all the money from the cashier's desk. A cook said that he was working in the kitchen and didn't have any free time. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't see anything. The waiter said that there was a suspicious visitor peeking around. Who do you think stole the money? The restaurant was still closed and there couldn't be any visitors, so the waiter must have lied and is probably guilty. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not to let suspicious people or folks under 21 in. Take a look at ID cards and help him decide if he can let each visitor in or not. Here's the first one. What do you think? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, here's the next visitor. What do you say? June 31st does not exist. There are just 30 days in June, so nope. What about this guy? Something is wrong once again. Even though February 29th theoretically exists, there was no February 29th in 1977. It's every year that can be divided by 4. Okay, what do you think about this girl? I don't see anything suspicious about her. Here's another candidate for the club. What do you think? Well, he is 22, and he seems fine to me. Let him in. A student was having an oral chemistry exam and was struggling with his last task. His professor decided to help him and have some fun, so he said that instead of the task, the student could guess his daughter's name. He only had one guess, but there was a hint. He wrote down several numbers: 32, 10, 14, 16. What's the professor's daughter's name? It's a chemistry class and chemistry professor, so there must be something related to chemistry. Look, there's even a periodic table in the background to help you. The 32nd element is germanium, or Ge, and the 10th one is neon, or Ne, and the 14th one is silicon, or Si, and finally, the 16th element is sulfur, or S. Together, they form the name Genesis. A bank was robbed, but they couldn't find the robber. A week later, at night, Detective Callum woke up from a call from a local shop's owner. He said that he found the money under his terrace. Detective Callum arrived, but there was only half of the money stolen. The man said that he had seen a man by his shop a week ago. It was a full moon, so he could see that the man had red hair and was wearing a dark hoodie. Still, the shop owner was arrested. Why? The shop owner said it was a full moon a week ago, but look, it's a full moon right now, so the man must be lying about something. In history class, students were asked to prepare a presentation about their ancestors. Edwin told about his great-great-grandpa who moved to New York and started as a salesman and then built a huge business. He even showed a photograph of his young grandpa in New York, but no one believed Edwin's story. Why? Even though the picture is black and white and looks old, old New York looks very much like modern New York, with dozens of skyscrapers. The class noticed and figured out that it definitely wasn't a real photo. Royce called the police and reported that someone had robbed his house. Detective Callum arrived and asked Royce to tell exactly what happened. Royce said that he had walked into his room and saw someone getting out of the window. It was still open because Royce didn't care to close it or touch anything before the police arrived. He checked his wardrobe and found that his savings had been stolen. Detective Callum closed the case. Why? The robber couldn't go out the window without stepping on the bed, but the bed is perfectly made, so it looks like no one was leaving through the window. Kaya was studying in the library. She went to the bathroom and left her things on the desk. When she returned, she found that her wallet had been stolen. She called the police and they interrogated the 3 students who were also in the library. Andre said that he had left the library right after Kaya to get a drink from the vending machine and hadn't touched any of her things. Poppy said that she was studying the whole time and not paying attention to anything. Rhea said that she was in the other part of the library looking for a book she needed and hadn't seen anything suspicious either. Who stole the wallet? It was Andre. He said that he had left to get a drink in a vending machine, but look, there's no drinks in the vending machine, only snacks. A young man named Colton was living with his best friend Cassidy. One morning, he called the police because Cassidy wasn't breathing. He said that he'd been working all day and had returned home late, so he hadn't seen her or talked to her for over a day. In the morning, he found her in bed like that. Last night, Cassidy had a headache and had to take many pills, so maybe that was the reason. Colton was immediately arrested. Why? Colton obviously didn't communicate with Cassidy, but he still somehow knew what she was doing in the evening. He must have come up with all of it, as he is probably guilty. During the math class, Mrs. Stevens had a task for the students. They had to say, what was 3 plus 3 times 3? 2 people raised their hands, and she asked both. Toby said that the answer was 18. Cassidy disagreed and said that the answer was 12. Who is right? Cassidy, the multiplication is always done first, so we multiply 3 by 3, that's 9. Then we add another 3 and get 12. It takes Genevieve 12 seconds to cut one loaf of bread into 5 pieces. How much time does she need to cut the same loaf into 6 pieces? 15 seconds to cut the bread into 5 pieces. She must make 4 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 4 cuts, it means she makes 1 cut in 3 seconds. If she now wants to cut the bread into 6 pieces, she needs to make 5 cuts. And since 5 cuts takes 3 seconds each, the combined time will be 15 seconds. How many years in the 21st century have had 365 days? Some of the years did have 366 days, and still, all of the years have had 365. So starting with 2001, it's been 20 years by now. No time to explain, but Tim needs to break into his mom's computer. The problem is that he doesn't know the passcode, but here's a hint. What's the passcode? Each consonant in the word equals 200 points, and each vowel takes away 100 points. In the word kiwi, there are 2 consonants that make 400 points. 2 vowels take away 200 points, so the passcode is 200. Lucas and Liam went for a walk. They found a cool tree and decided to climb up to the top of it. Who is less smart? Lucas. The branch he's going to use is about to crack. He's in for a nasty fall. Michael and Logan are bloggers. To boost their popularity, they decided to take selfies in dangerous places. Michael is taking a selfie while surfing a huge wave, and Logan is taking one standing on the edge of a bridge. Who is in greater danger? Michael. Logan at least has some people around. They'll notice if something happens and call the emergency services. Michael is alone. Thomas and Abigail were going on a date. Thomas arrived half an hour earlier and decided to go and buy some flowers. Abigail had just returned from London and was driving to meet the guy. Who is doing something wrong? Abigail. She's driving on the left side of the road. Elizabeth and Melanie are getting ready for a barbecue party in the garden. Elizabeth is cooking and Melanie is decorating the garden. Who is not smart? Elizabeth. While she's cooking, the meat is going bad in the sun. It was June, and students were going to have their most difficult exam. Each of them was assigned to a particular seat, but a professor was paying special attention to one of the students. He supposed they were going to cheat. Who was his suspect and why? It's this blonde girl. In June, the weather is great and all students are lightly dressed. And still, this girl is wearing high boots and a sweater with long sleeves. Ella got a new motorbike. She locked it in her garage and left for work. When she came back home and opened the garage, the motorbike was missing. The woman called the police. The officer interrogated 3 of her neighbors. Ryan said that he'd been away the whole day and hadn't seen anything. Colin said, "When I was walking the dog, the motorbike was still there." Jane said that she had come to Ella's house to ask her for some garden tools, but Ella hadn't been there, so she'd left. Who stole the motorbike? It was Colin. He said he'd seen the motorbike in the garage, but the door was closed, so he couldn't possibly spot the bike. Look at the sequence of letters. What should be the next one? Each of these letters is the first letter of some day of the week. S stands for Sunday, M for Monday, and then we've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The only one that's left is Saturday, so we need an S. Mark was locked in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but none of them looked safe. Behind the first door, there was a huge and strong guard. Behind the second door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Behind the third door, there were many little robots that were ready to charge at Mark at any second. Which way should the guy opt for to get out and stay safe? I'd say the third one. Although there are angry little robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause much harm. Emily woke up in a weird place she'd never been before. She looked around and saw 3 ways out. But there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was an iron block with a motion sensor that would crush everyone who entered the room. Behind the second door, there was an electric shock device that never missed. Behind the third door, there was broken glass all over the floor. Which way should Emily choose? She should pick the third door. She's wearing boots, so walking on the glass is definitely not going to be too hard of a task for her. Stella called the police and said that her friend had been poisoned. She told them what happened. I was supposed to meet with Alice, but I arrived too early. So I went to pick her up at her house. I knocked, but no one answered the door. The light was on, so I knew Alice must be at home. I had a spare key, so I opened the door myself. I found her in the room unconscious with an empty glass by her side. The police officer asked if Stella had touched anything. The girl said she had only touched the door, the glass, and her friend. After that, she got arrested. Why? She said the lights had been on, but she didn't say anything about touching the light switch. But when the police entered the house, the lights were off. Mrs. Donnell reported that she'd been robbed. She said, "I was in the restaurant's bathroom fixing my makeup when someone approached me from behind and hit me on the head. I didn't see what this person looked like." The police sent the woman home and refused to fill the report. Why? The woman was fixing her makeup. This means she was looking in the mirror. If someone had tried to approach her from the back, she would have definitely seen this person. But she said she hadn't. She probably made the whole story up. A cleaning man was washing the windows in an office building and fell from the 3rd floor. Everyone agreed it must have been an accident. Luckily, Detective Callum was nearby. Once he came closer and saw what had happened, he concluded that it couldn't have been an accident. Someone pushed the man out of the window. How did he understand it? Look, the window the guy fell out of is now closed. If it had been just an accident, the window would still remain open. Sophia and Brooke went camping in the forest. Who is less smart? Brooke. Look, she's wearing heels. Nicole and Kate are late for work. They're both driving fast, breaking the speed limit. Which of them is in greater danger? Kate. She has many things lying around in her car. In case of an accident, something is likely to hit her. Jessica and Margot are jaywalking. Jessica is listening to music and Margot is texting her friend. Who is in greater danger? Jessica. Although they're both breaking the rules, Margot is doing it in a place where she can be easily noticed by drivers. And Jessica is jaywalking right where the road takes a turn. Drivers might not have enough time to react and stop. Allison and Maddie are doing housework. Allison is hanging the laundry outside, and Maddie is vacuum cleaning the basement. Who is less smart? Allison. She's hanging the laundry outside, but it's raining. After Theodore was shipwrecked, he found himself on a deserted island. Luckily, he still had his pills. There were 2 green and 2 yellow ones left. He needed to take 1 green and 1 yellow pill every day. The problem was that the man couldn't see anything at all and couldn't tell the color of the pills. There wasn't a soul around to help him. How can he manage it? Theodore should break each of the 4 pills into half and eat half of each of the 4. This way, he'll eat exactly 1 green and 1 yellow pill. Camilla and Vivian are sisters. For her birthday, Vivian got a beautiful bracelet. Camilla liked it too and occasionally borrowed it. One day, Vivian noticed that the bracelet was gone again. She knocked on her sister's door.
Oh, no.
Camilla opened it, saw Vivian, shut the door again, and locked it. Half a minute later, Vivian broke into the room and started searching for the bracelet, but she didn't find anything. Then she realized where the accessory was. Have you figured it out? Vivian remembered that when Camilla first opened the door, she had her hair down. But now she has her hair up. She has put her hair in a bun and hid the bracelet there.
Okay, listen to me very carefully, my friend. Here's the deal. First, to steal the diamond, you need to get to a remote island. It doesn't exist on any map, and it's forbidden for ordinary people to be there. The diamond is in the heart of this place, inside a well-guarded deep underground bunker. It's impossible to get there through the main entrance. But lucky you, there's also a secret jail on the island. You can get there as a prisoner and then escape through the underground tunnel. That tunnel will lead you into the bunker. Then you should find the diamond. You'll have very little time for the whole operation. When you're done, a boat will be waiting for you in the southern part of the island. Do everything correctly and follow the plan, and then you'll encounter no problems. Got it? All right, let's go. You and other prisoners get into a helicopter and fly to the island. You're handcuffed. At one moment, the helicopter begins to shake. The pilot says you're falling. He puts on a parachute and jumps out of the helicopter. Take a look around and decide what to do next. Faster! You see the keys to your handcuffs hanging near the cabin. Then you get rid of the handcuffs. The prisoners ask you to release them too. But be careful, these people are dangerous. All 3 of them say they know how to fly a helicopter. Who will you believe? That guy with a tattoo with a helicopter on his leg. Maybe he's a good pilot. You remove his handcuffs and he admits he has lied. None of these people knows how to fly a helicopter. There's only 1 parachute left. The prisoner pushes you to the side, grabs the parachute, and jumps out of the falling helicopter. You decide to release the other prisoners too. What will you do next? Jump without a parachute? Try to land the helicopter on your own? The helicopter's pilot abandoned the vehicle because the landing was impossible. So you will not succeed either. You need to jump. You have been flying over the ocean, remember? Also, the helicopter is falling, so the height isn't that great. You jump into the water and swim toward the shore. Suddenly, you notice a shark's fin. It's quickly approaching you. What are you going to do? A. Try to swim to the shore as fast as possible. B. Don't swim anywhere and just float in the water. C. Dive and start waving your hands to scare the shark away. You need to stop. If you start swimming away, the shark will begin chasing you. Breathe in a lot of air and try not to make unnecessary movements. The shark will leave soon. But if it attacks, you'll have to attack back. Its gills and eyes are the animal's weak spots. Fortunately, the shark doesn't charge at you. It swims away, and you get to the shore safely. The island's guards are running out of the jungle. One of the prisoners who was with you in the helicopter is hiding in the bushes and invites you to join him. Where will you go? Let the guards catch you and take you to jail. Don't forget about your mission. They dress you in a yellow shirt and lead you away. You see many dangerous people. You're sitting at the table having lunch. There are 3 prisoners in front of you. One of them is going to escape. But who? That man with a book. A metal file serves him as a bookmark. Today, he will also try to escape. The underground tunnel leading from the prison to the bunker is located under the laundry room. You need to get out of your cell and get there. To do this, you have to get the metal file and pick the lock. Everyone goes out into the courtyard for a walk. You're following the man with the book. He sits down on the bench and hides the book under the seat. You need to distract him and get your hands on the book. You can use a basketball, dumbbells, or playing cards. What will you do? You can offer to work out with the dumbbells or play cards, but it will be difficult for you to get out of his sight. Start playing basketball. Throw the ball far away. The prisoner will run after it. Meanwhile, you'll take the book. So you grab the book but find no file inside. Instead of this, you find some money. It seems this guy has sold the tool to one of the other prisoners. You put the money in your pocket and look around the yard. Which of the prisoners can have the metal file? That guy is pressing his fingers to the sleeve of his shirt. Apparently, he's hiding the tool there. You're about to approach him, but one of the prisoners starts a fight. The guards are trying to prevent a riot. In all this chaos, someone hits you on the head and you lose consciousness. You wake up in a hospital ward. Oh no! You have almost no time left. The doors are locked. Several security guards are walking around. How can you get into the laundry room? In the corner, there's a huge cart with dirty laundry. Hide in there, and they'll take you to where you need to go. You hide among the dirty sheets. The cleaner takes the cart and transports you to the laundry room. He throws the linen into the washing machine and notices you. The cleaner's going to scream and call the guards. What will you do? You have some money, remember? You can pay for his silence. You move one of the washing machines and find a hatch under it. You climb inside and walk through the tunnel. It's very cold, wet, and dark here. Finally, you reach a small room. There are no windows and doors, only brick walls. What will you do? You can't go back. Among all these bricks, there's one sticking out of the wall. Try to push it. It worked! A secret door opens, and you step inside. You go down and find yourself in front of another iron door. You notice an oxygen tank with a mask lying nearby. You open the door and find yourself in an airlock room between 2 iron doors. One of the doors closes behind you. All the oxygen gets pumped out. You can't breathe, so you put on the mask. The second iron door opens, and you go inside. You see 3 tunnels. The first tunnel is filled with moving axes, blades, and other traps. High-voltage electric discharges flicker in the second tunnel. The third tunnel is burning with a bright flame. One of the threats is an illusion. Which tunnel will you choose? There's no air in the room, which means fire can't burn here. The flame is a hologram. You move on and find yourself in front of a dark room. It's so dark you can't see what's inside. It seems to you that the diamond is there. Stop. What is this diamond? Who gave you this mission? What are you doing here? What's happening? At this moment, some unknown force pushes you forward. You step into the black void and fall. You find yourself floating in outer space. It's so cold and scary here. You feel tiny in the boundless universe. Suddenly, you see something shining. Is it a star or an asteroid? A bright light illuminates the black space around you. "Good job," a heavy voice says. You reach out your hand and touch the light. At this moment, at a great speed, you start flying back through space and time. You're falling fast and land in a dirty room. Frightened, you get up and open the door. Oh, yes, sunlight! You finally get out of the bunker and find yourself on the island. There are two paths in front of you. One leads to the south, the other to the north. Which one will you choose? The boat is supposed to be waiting for you in the south, remember? You go through the jungle and find an old car. You start the engine and grab an MP3 player with headphones from the glove compartment. You drive along the road listening to music when you realize the brakes don't work. There are three ways ahead. A brick wall is waiting for you at the end of the first road. The second one leads to a swamp, and the third leads to a high hill with a cliff. Where are you going to drive? There's almost no time. Release the gas pedal and drive up the hill. The car will start slowing down, and soon you'll be able to get out of it. You go through the jungle and find yourself on the shore. There's an old motorboat on the sand. You push it into the water, start the engine, and get in. After traveling for some time, you see rocks with shipwrecks next to them. You slow down and hear beautiful singing coming from the rocks. The singing is beckoning, and you direct your boat right toward the rocks. You're quickly approaching the place and can do nothing to stop the inevitable. What will you do? You have the MP3 player you found in the car. You put on the headphones, turn on cool epic music, and travel away. You're heading toward sunset, toward new adventures. And now, let's check your points. 0 to 3 points. You definitely shouldn't go on dangerous adventures. You may be able to pass the first test, but you aren't likely to get through all the trials. 4 to 7 points. It's better, but you still lack confidence. You might panic in an extreme situation, and panic is the main enemy of any adventurer. 8 to 11 points. You're not afraid of danger. You always move forward with confidence. But you need to work on your attention to detail and your logical thinking skills to be able to always get out of trouble. 12 to 14 points. You're a real adventurer. You can handle not only exhausting challenges, but also survive inexplicable strange situations that would drive other people mad. A young woman went to another town to look for a better job. She promised her mother she would come and visit her often. But 4 months passed, and she still didn't come home. Her mother missed her very much. One day, in the middle of winter, the woman shouted, "April is here!" How is it possible? April was her daughter's name. She finally came to visit her family. It's usually under you. Take away its first letter, and it'll be above you. Take away its first 2 letters, and you won't see it. What is it? It's a chair, which can transform into hair and air. Look at this picture and try to understand what's wrong with it. Why would this young lady put a pair of boots on the table and a saw in the fridge? How about this image? Does anything strike you as odd? There's a snowman in the oven and a fish in the toaster. Dennis, Maria, and Julie were at a party. They decided to play a game. There were 5 hats, 2 red ones, and 3 yellow ones. The friends closed their eyes, took random hats, and put them on their heads. Then they opened their eyes and looked at one another. Each of them had to guess what color the hat on their head was. Dennis and Julie said they didn't know, but Maria exclaimed that she knew the color of her hat. What color was it? It was yellow. Maria saw that Dennis and Julie were wearing red hats, and she knew there were only 2 of those. You can't share it until you take it. What is it? It's a photo. You see a combination of letters OTTFFSS. What should be the next 3 letters in the line? They should be ENT. These are the first letters of the names of the numbers from 1 to 10. Michael was walking along the street when a sealed envelope landed near his feet. The guy picked it up. Inside, there was a key and a note. It said, "Help, 323." Michael entered the building. Soon, he found a door number 323 and used the key to open it. He saw a man near the open window. He was gagged and tied to a chair. Once free, the man exclaimed, "2 men broke into my office, tied me up, and took all the money from my safe. Luckily, my hands were free. I managed to write this note and throw it together with the key out the window." Michael didn't believe the man and called the police. Why? The envelope was sealed. How could the man do it if he was gagged? It can never be thrown, but it can be caught. People are always looking for ways to lose it. What is it? It's a cold. 2 teams were playing soccer against each other. Each of the teams scored 2 goals in total. And still, it wasn't a tie. One team won and the other lost. How come? One of the teams scored an own goal. Young but very popular blogger Eric wrote his first book. It was a huge success. The guy was preparing for his first book signing. He was very excited and nervous, so he took a break to steady his nerves in a quiet corner. But even at 6 p.m., when the meeting was supposed to start, Eric was nowhere to be seen. In 10 minutes, a security guard found him lying on the floor in the bathroom. Someone had hit the writer on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Angela, his agent, said she had been solving some urgent organizational issues. Frank, one of the fans, said he had been a great lover of Eric's books for years. He wouldn't do anything to harm the writer. And Patrick, the security guard, said he had been doing his job, keeping the fans away from the entrance. Who hit Eric? It was Frank. It was Eric's first book. Frank couldn't possibly be reading his books for years. Look at these guys carefully. Who is a fake fireman? It's the guy on the right. He's not wearing a helmet and doesn't have a special bag. Plus, his pants aren't part of the uniform. You have 3 empty cups and 10 sugar cubes. You need to distribute these sugar cubes between the cups so that each of them contains an odd number of cubes. Put 3 sugar cubes in the first cup and 3 cubes in the second one. After that, put the remaining 4 cubes and the second cup in cup number 3. Now, the first cup has 3 sugar cubes, and the second one has 3 sugar cubes too. As for the third cup, it has 7 sugar cubes, 4 of its own and 3 in the second cup. 2 roommates, Deborah and Rachel, were walking home after doing their weekly grocery shopping. Deborah kept complaining about how heavy her bags were. Then Rachel told her, "I don't understand why you're upset. If you gave me one of your bags, I would have twice more bags than you do. And if I gave you one of mine, we would have the same number of bags." How many bags were the girls carrying? Rachel had 7 bags, while Deborah was only carrying 5 bags. Detective Black's assistant, Josh, was late for work. When he arrived, he told his boss the following story. I was driving along the highway when I saw an unconscious man lying on the left side of the road. I picked him up and took him to the nearest hospital. Finally, he came to his senses. He told me he had been pushed out of the moving vehicle. The bag and all of his money and documents were left inside. But Detective Black said the man was lying. How did he figure it out? If the man had indeed been pushed out of the car, he would have been lying on the right side of the road, not the left one. Kenneth was starving. He found a nice diner that served burgers and bought one. After a waiter brought him his order, Kenneth went to the bathroom to wash his hands. But when he came back, his burger was gone. The guy looked around the diner and understood who had taken his lunch. Can you figure it out? It's the young woman with a dog sitting at her feet and sniffing the air. If she was just drinking coffee, which is what she's pretending to do, the dog wouldn't be so interested in her. Mary was walking through the park when she spotted a hungry dog. The woman decided to share her snack with the animal. Unfortunately, there was a stream between her and the pooch. She squatted down to attract the dog's attention and showed it the food. The animal was next to her in no time. There was no bridge over the stream, and still the dog wasn't wet. How is it possible? It happened in the winter, and the stream was frozen. A rich entrepreneur disappeared from his office. The only thing he left behind was a note with the numbers 6, 4, 9, 10, and 11, and a calendar. The police have 5 suspects: James, Kevin, Carol, Jason, and Laura. Who knows something about the man's disappearance? It's Jason. The numbers mean months of the year, and the first numbers of these months make up the culprit's name, Jason. Matthew bought a new smartphone and a phone case. He paid $310. The gadget cost $300 more than the case. How much did Matthew pay for the phone? He paid $305. Tony was hosting a party. 3 hours after it started, several guests came up to the guy. They asked where they could charge their phones. Unfortunately, there was only one socket in Tony's house. The guy checked all the power strips he had. Help him figure out how many phones he can charge at a time. Tony can charge 8 phones. Look, one strip has its cord cut. The strip with one socket is literally useless. One of the strips doesn't have a cord whatsoever. Another has no hole for a plug. Plus, one socket on each of the 2 strips will be taken by the plugs from the others. A rich businessman called the police. When he arrived at his office in the morning, he remembered he had left a bunch of important documents in his safe at home. He sent his secretary, John, to bring them. But the guy called half an hour later. He said the safe was open. The documents were still inside, but all the money had disappeared. The police examined the businessman's home office. They tried to find some fingerprints. Nothing at all. The detective had 3 suspects: the secretary, the businessman's nephew, Mark, and the housekeeper. The secretary said he had called his boss as soon as he had seen the safe. Mark said, "I opened the door for John. Then I went to my room and found out about the accident only after John called me." The housekeeper told the police she had been very busy with her chores and hadn't been to the office since the previous evening. Who took the money? It was the secretary. There were no fingerprints in the room, but John was there and definitely touched different things. If he hadn't been guilty, he wouldn't have wiped his fingerprints off. Can you find a dino that is different than the rest? Right, it's this one. Vincent got locked in a room with no windows and only one massive door. There's a panel with several buttons on the left and another one with a hint on it on the right. There's also a clock on the wall above the door. Which button should Vincent press to get out of the trap? The green triangle. The numbers on the panel represent hours. If you connect them on the clock face, you'll get a triangle. The door opened and Vincent got into a dimly lit hall. There, he saw one more door, but this time, both the lock and the key were hanging together on the same chain. But after examining this system for a couple of seconds, the guy understood he wouldn't get out this way. Why? The key has a different pattern. It won't fit in the lock. Vincent needs to look for another way to escape. Then Vincent notices a table standing in a dark corner. There's a piece of paper, a knife, and several inflated balloons lying on it. Vincent picks up the paper. It's a note. To get out of here, you must puncture a balloon with a knife. But if the balloon loses any air or bursts, you'll stay here forever. Vincent thought for a while, then he did something, and a hidden door opened in one of the walls. What did he do? He let the air out of one of the balloons. After that, he easily punctured it with a knife. Detective Marcus and another passerby became witnesses of a car accident. A man, hit by a minivan, was lying on the ground, unconscious. Marcus rushed to the nearest cafe to call an ambulance. When he got back, the passerby told him the man had turned onto his back but hadn't come to his senses. After looking at the scene for a couple of seconds, the detective said, "You'd better return everything you've taken from this man." Why did he say so? When they saw the man first, only one button was buttoned on his suit jacket. But now, it's already two buttons. The passerby must have opened his jacket to look for the wallet and then buttoned it up incorrectly. Look at this picture and try to figure out who is an alien in disguise. It's the guy in the yellow shirt. He's eating a banana, but he hasn't peeled it before biting on it. He probably sees this fruit for the first time. Three famous detectives came to a coffee shop to discuss a tricky case. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first detective said, "I don't know." The second detective answered, "I don't know." And the third detective said, "Yes." Do you know what the first two detectives ordered? All the detectives ordered coffee. Each of them wanted to have this drink, but the first two couldn't know if it would be everyone's choice. If the first two detectives hadn't wanted coffee, they'd have simply said no. So, when the third detective heard the replies of his colleagues, he figured out both of them wanted coffee. And since he was also going to take a cup, he said yes. Ralph, Willie, Amber, and Grace are in a museum room. Someone stole a priceless exhibit from this room several hours ago. Ralph, Willie, and Amber claim they have nothing to do with the crime, but the detective doesn't believe them. They all get arrested and taken to the police station. Only Grace, who hasn't answered the question, is free to go. Why? Grace is the detective. Janice was having her morning coffee in a cafe when she heard a car screeching to a halt, then loud shouting. She ran there and saw a man with his bicycle on the ground and a car standing nearby. The cyclist didn't look hurt, and Janice helped him to get up. The car driver came up to them too. The cyclist pointed at the man. "He made me crash by hitting my bike with his car." But the driver said, "I saw him losing control of his bike in the mirror. Then he fell to the ground, and I stopped the car to go check on him." Janice almost immediately understood who was lying. Have you figured it out? The car doesn't have side mirrors. There are also lots of things in the back seat. They blocked the view of the road, so the driver couldn't have seen anything in his rearview mirror either. He's lying. One wealthy businessman was famous for always wearing a white hat, but one day he came to his office with a bunch of fruit on his head. His employees were shocked, but they didn't dare to question the man. The situation repeated the next day. On the third day, the businessman's secretary plucked up all his courage and asked what was going on. The man answered, that's because I lost a bet. I haven't fulfilled it yet, but I'll do it today. There's no need to order lunch for me." What did the businessman have to do to fulfill the bet? When he made this bet, he said, "If I lose, I'll eat my hat." Detective Mark Darson suspected one man of committing a crime. He decided to stake out his house. Not too far away, he spotted an artist setting up her easel. Apparently, she was going to draw the criminal's house. At one point, the detective had to go away to the police station. He asked the girl to call him if she saw someone entering or leaving the house. She agreed. When Mark came back in the evening, the artist told him she'd seen no one. The detective immediately understood she was lying. How did he figure it out? When he was leaving, all the windows in the house were closed. But in the picture the girl drew, the windows are open. It means someone was inside while Mark was away. Take a look at this picture and try to understand which guy is Ben. Ben is the guy looking for something on the floor. He's the only one not wearing his shoes. That's because they're still in his locker. You've got a sack filled with coffee beans. You need to use this coffee to completely fill 2 other sacks of the same size. How can you do it? Put one empty sack into the other and fill them with coffee. A large sum of money was stolen from Mr. Green's safe. The police suspect Alan, but Alan says, "I don't know anything about safes or about how to open them. I'm a simple blacksmith." The detective doesn't believe him and asks Alan to prove it. He gives the guy one job-related task. If he copes with it, he's telling the truth. Alan gets 5 different chains. Each of them has 3 links. The detective asks the guy to make one chain out of these 5 pieces, but he can separate and combine only 3 links. In no time, Alan finished this task and was released. How did he do it? Alan separated 3 links of one chain and used them to connect the remaining 4 chains. Can you move just one matchstick to make a square? Pull this matchstick up a bit. Here's your perfect square. Mr. Bernard, a famous inventor, lived on the 6th floor of an apartment building. After long months of work, he finally created a time machine. He packed lots of food, water, and other necessary stuff and was ready to test his invention. He set the timer so that the machine took him 500 years back into the past. Mr. Bernard was about to press start when a thought came to his mind. He took the mechanism and carried it to his garage that was on the 1st floor. Why? This way, the inventor would avoid getting hurt. 5 centuries ago, there were no such high buildings. He'd simply fall to the ground from the height of the 6th floor. Look at these guys carefully. One of them lied when he said he hadn't painted the green smiley face on the fence. Which one is it? It's the guy on the left. Check out his left hand. Even though it's in his pocket, you can still spot some green paint he'd used. Bruce was walking along the beach when he found a glass bottle. The thing looked old, and the guy spent a long time trying to open it. Finally, he succeeded. To his shock, a genie rose from the bottle. "I'll fulfill your 3 wishes, but you aren't allowed to wish for more wishes." Bruce agreed, but still managed to get more wishes. How did he do it? His first wish was that the genie allowed him to ask for more wishes. Several birds landed on trees, one bird for one tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped with two birds sitting on one tree. After this, one tree was left free. How many birds and trees are there? There are 4 birds and 3 trees. Detective Hall, one of the agency's most talented detectives, used his coded key and entered the apartment where the secret documents were hidden. To help him find them, his assistant Clark had left an encrypted note with the exact location of the documents. It looked like this. Detective Hall deciphered the message and found the documents. Where were they hidden? The note says, "Under the carpet in the studio." The detective just read it backwards and ignored the spaces between the words.